Over the last 25 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing and highlighting some truly interesting people. Oh, I mean, everyone who is anyone, both the famous and the infamous, from presidents and their first ladies to kings and queens, movie stars and pop stars, captains of industry, heads of state, sports personalities, innovative entrepreneurs, and some pretty fascinating everyday people. Today, I'm proud to introduce you to Harriet McDonald, president of the Doe Fund, which for 30 years has addressed homelessness and recidivism through innovative work-based programs that advance economic and racial justice. What an amazing mission and passion that you for 30 years has just made a part of your life. Please tell us a little bit more about the mission of the Doe Fund.
The mission of the Doe Fund is to empower formerly homeless, and their homelessness when they come to us, and people returning on parole from prison, and putting them, we do a three-legged stool. We do housing, we do social services, and most important, I believe, is that we pay people to go to work right away. And there is no racial justice in this country without economic justice. And that is what we always knew. And that is our mission, is to get people into the mainstream, earning a living, supporting their children, being role models in their community, and just like everybody else. And then people see that and go, oh, he's just like me. Pays the same bills, pays the same taxes. He's just like me. And that gives people back their dignity,
yes,
and a sense of their own worth, like nothing else. For people who have been indigent and at the fringes, being part of the mainstream is the solution for the vast majority.
I so agree with you on that. Having been a public prosecutor for the first part of my professional career, I know that with recidivism, it often comes because people don't feel a part of society. And you can't feel a part of society if you can't contribute to society. And I think the mission of the Doe Fund just really does speak directly to that, making people integral parts of society so that they can either continue their life or start their life over. Harriet, talk to me a little bit about the origins of the fund. I find it so fascinating.
My husband started in Grand Central Terminal by feeding the people. He was a successful businessman, and he always said he got tired of stepping over people after spending $400 on lunch. And he couldn't take it. It made him so upset. So we started by buying sandwiches and giving them out in Grand Central. I was hired to come to New York and to spend time with a homeless little girl. She was about 17, and she was pretty extraordinary. She survived in the terminal, and there was, what I learned was a community of people in the terminal. So I got to meet them all. And what they told both George and I separately was that what they wanted was a room and a job to pay for it. And at that time, everyone, and still too much today, thinks that the homeless people are all lazy or crazy. And I guarantee you they are not. I decided to adopt this little girl and take her home to Beverly Hills to raise her with my daughter. And she was set to come with me, and she hid from me. She was afraid to change her life. and she was smoking crack. And so I thought, I'll go back, I'll write this screenplay, and that will help her and all these other people I'd come to know. Shortly after she killed herself.
Oh my God.
I was devastated, and I came to the church, and there was a man a priest who gave this incredible eulogy about how she was a shining star in the night sky. And afterwards, I was, of course, crying like crazy. And afterwards, he asked me to meet him for a drink. And I didn't know he was not a priest. And he started rubbing my leg.
Oh my Lord.
Because I thought he was a priest because he gave the eulogy, and I'm Jewish, so I didn't know the difference. And that's how I met my homeless advocate husband.
Your child brought you together, basically.
Yes. Oh, she did. 150%. And I decided to leave my good earnings in LA and come to New York and marry. At that time, he was a penniless man, so we could do this work together. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And in the very beginning, what we did was we literally picked homeless people off the ground in Grand Central and asked them if they wanted to work. And we got 70 men who all wanted to work. And we put them in this new building we'd gotten through the city and renovated. And that's where they lived. And it was in Bed-Stuy. And it was me and 70 homeless men alone in Bed-Stuy from the beginning. I couldn't afford staff, nothing. I want to tell you, everything I know about homelessness, about these men, about how to help them, started right there because they taught me.
You know, it's interesting. I've read that you've been described, Harriet, as a visionary for visionaries. I know you give a lot of the credit to your wonderful husband, but what do you think is meant by that statement?
I think, well, first of all, now, it was always my desire. Once we had all this data that proved from Harvard, from the state, how successful we were, and we reduced recidivism by 62% of guys on parole. And homelessness, we totally broke the cycle. It was my drive to open Ready, Willing, and Able's or WorkWorks across the country. And we are already in 6 cities. So, and I've always been close to the men, even though now we serve about 800 men at a time. I usually know a lot of their names and all of that. I've helped them, because believe me, it's their hard work, to become leaders in our organization. 70% of our staff are graduates, and they are the best messengers, the most caring about the people. They've walked in their shoes. The men respect them, and I think that they are visionaries.
Let me be real clear so that people understand. What kinds of services do you provide through the Doe Fund?
Yes. Well, the first thing I learned was drugs were a huge problem. But the most incredible thing is how fast they stopped. Because if you offer the poorest people a paying job at a decent wage from the beginning, They want to earn a living more than smoke crack cocaine or do fentanyl. So our drug outcomes are like better than any drug treatment program because they don't have to give up drugs for drugs. I mean, for nothing except feeling better. They give it up to work, have dignity, be role models, all of those things. But I'm telling you, the money is very, very important. Just training people, first of all, our people couldn't afford that. But now we do an increasing amount of training.
I know this is a big question, but I'm just curious. How do you find solutions for what are some of America's biggest problems? Homelessness, economic injustice, the feelings of depression and unworthiness. Those are issues that really impact on people's quality of life.
Totally. And the other thing people can't forget is if a person cannot earn money, they are going to commit crime. Nobody can live without food. Nobody can live without something to put on. You know,
you have to have shelter, and you have to have dignity. That's what you have to have.
Yeah. When I come to our different residences and I meet guys that are just coming in, they can't look in my face. A month later, it's, "Hi, Miss Harriet, how are you?" It's like a total transformation. And I firmly believe, yes, we can deal with trauma and deal with through intensive case management and what they need in that area. But you can't change someone's life if you can't have them enter the mainstream.
Yes, yes, indeed. Harriet, what plans do you have for the future for the Doe Fund and for yourself?
I love my work. I feel like the most blessed person. I have seen 28,000 men enter the mainstream through our program. That's a lot of lives. And I know so many of them. You couldn't have a better life. I may never be the rich person. I may never be those things. But what a gift. And it keeps your spirit so high because you see all these people society has forgotten or dismissed or are blind to. And they're real human beings and they can and do succeed with opportunity.
I have to tell you, just listening to you talk about opportunity and dignity and integrating people back into society, it really speaks to the founding mission of the Doe Fund and the work that you all have done over the last 30 years. Harriet, what's the one thing you would like the viewer of this video feature to walk away with?
I think in America today, the bandage has been pulled off because of COVID. And what I'm seeing is for the first time in corporate America, in individuals, they really see racial injustice. They now see it like they haven't in 30 years, and economic injustice. And that provides the most fantastic opportunity for us and programs that we replicate and have done in other places to help thousands and thousands and thousands of more people. And it's terrible that it had to come to this before this national recognition and that so many minority families had to die, people and families, before people could see this. It wasn't recognized.
Yes,
really.
indeed.
And so what I'm going to devote myself to now, we're opening another 200-bed facility in New York next year. What I want to do now is continue Ready, Willing, and Able. You can imagine it's not easy to raise the money we need, but also to have it spread across America. And I'm ready, willing, and able to do that.
And I certainly do wish you the very, very best. Talk about the Doe Fund being a picture perfect example of Dr. King's very famous words: injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And economic injustice is a big threat. If you cannot earn a decent living, you cannot live a decent life. And thank you so very much for putting this issue on the forefront. Thank you, Harriet.
Thank you. It was wonderful to talk to you.